will thank Pastor Doug Dent from Federated Church to lead us in that.
Thank you. I invite you to pray with me. Creating and innovative God, we come before you as we gather for this city council meeting. We ask for your wisdom, discernment, and guidance as we deliberate on the matters before us. May your Spirit lead us to make decisions that are righteous and just and benefit all in our community. Give to the mayor and to the councilors capable assistance through the administration and the staff who serve our city. May each one gladly contribute in any way, whether humble or significant. We pray for unity of purpose so that good strategies and plans may be implemented quickly. May we also seek to understand one another's perspectives and find common ground. Grant us the grace to serve with integrity and humility, always seeking to prioritize the needs of our citizens. And may we be a beacon of hope and a source of positive change for our city. We trust in your guidance and pray our decisions will reflect your love and your will for all your children. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Here.
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 Here. Here.
We have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is open forum. If anybody has anything they wish to discuss that's not already on the agenda, please come forward. With that, we will look for an approval of this evening's agenda. Is there anything that we wish to change?
Your Honor, I'd like to bring up something if I could, and I don't know if it's the right moment now. You'll guide me. But I want to be able to have the council be able to look at the city engineering that department a little bit more. What I want specifically is I want the council to be able to talk about this and talk about the process of an RFP for the city engineering department. If that's something you want to add on there tonight, and we can vote as a council to add it tonight. If it's something you want to put to the committee of the whole
It's already,
next
it
time.
was going to be on the agenda for the next committee of the whole.
It is, okay, thank you.
Thank you. With that, would you like to make a motion to do the agenda? Thank you, Scott.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Laurel. All those in favor of the agenda as is, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, same sign. Hearing none, the agenda is approved. The first item on the agenda is a public hearing on the final cost hearing for PI 6081, the 2024 sidewalk driveway improvement project, for which we need a resolution adopting the final cost assessment for PI 6081, and I will call upon Andrew Ransa to discuss that.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Council members, as the mayor mentioned, this is our 2024 sidewalk and driveway improvement program. As you all may recall, this is a 100% voluntary and 100% petitioned program utilized by property owners throughout the community. And on an annual basis, we certify the final assessments for the previous year's project and then allow the property owners to repay those assessments over a period of time. And that time varies depending on the value of the assessments. The total project cost last year was just over $28,000. About $8,400 of that is assessments. The balance was paid out of city budgeted funds, which we budget about $30,000 annually for this project. Those $8,400 approximately in assessments are divided over 3 different properties. Those properties are all within your packet, and these assessments are set to run on those 3 properties, one of them for 15 years, the other 2 for 5 and 3 respectively. And the interest rate on these assessments is set at 5.5%. As I mentioned, this is a 100% petitioned program, so the property owners are signing up for this and they understand what their assessment is going to be. And as a result, the property owners have been notified that this hearing is taking place this evening, and the council can hold the public hearing and then adopt the final assessments via resolution.
With that, we will open the public hearing. If anybody wishes to speak regarding this matter, please come forward, state your name and the city in which you live. Nobody wants to talk about pavements today, or footpaths. So with that, the public hearing is closed. Would somebody care to make a resolution regarding that?
Your Honor.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you, Jim, and thank you, Mark. So any questions regarding this?
Yes, I'm sorry. Andrew and I have had conversations in the past where if there's a city policy and a city hires a contractor, can I, as the homeowner, have a contractor come in and do it, and hopefully less? Can I still use the assessment?
Your Honor, Councilmember Layton, we have not allowed that because if somebody wishes to go and, you can either participate in this program, which is offset by the city, and then the assessments are carried by the city, or you can do the work on your own. But we have not ever had a circumstance where we've allowed somebody to choose a contractor, pay the contractor, and then have the city, or have the city pay the contractor, and then allow them to pay us back over time. They would have to be part of this program to have the assessments.
Is that something the council would possibly have a flavor for? I haven't talked to a local contractor if I needed a sidewalk done compared to the issues or the estimates that you've gotten. Let's just say it's half. I'm not saying it is, but at that time, maybe the owner doesn't care. He bought it for half anyway, but it would be something to consider. I think the council would accept that, getting the purchase out of the city hands and back into the private hands.
Your Honor, Councilmember Layton, I think the challenge is, as we try to manage the budget that we have on an annual basis and allocate it to the projects, if we don't know what projects are out there, or if people are, securing their own contractors, and we don't know it's the best price, that's available, it's hard for our staff to manage the budget and allocate that appropriately and ensure that we don't overspend. Yeah, go ahead.
And just thinking a bit more about it, we'd have to research into Minnesota Statute 429 and how does that work with that statute. I don't know off the top of my head how it would work, but I just know it's an area we'd have to research. So
Simply a question hoping that the consumer could save money, get it out of the purchase by a city and get it back to the private.
Just out of interest, do we contract with somebody? I mean, do we get a bid at the beginning of the year?
yes.
So if we did that, that might change that bid process too.
Probably would. Yeah, the engineering department runs this and goes and gets quotes for doing this work. And yeah, and we set the sidewalk rates for 25 just at a meeting or two ago, right? I think, yeah. So
I might be looking at it a little as a layman, but a sidewalk's a sidewalk. In no offense to our engineering companies in town, it's a sidewalk. And you got your specs, it's so many inches, it's so wide, and we're done. We could get rid of and save a bunch of money for that consumer. 5% seems to be high too, thank you.
Any other questions regarding sidewalk?
Anthony? I think the advantage to the consumer in this case is being able to spread the cost out over time. And so being able to, buy it yourself is one thing. The comment I guess I wanted to make, though, was we only had 3 take advantage of this last year. And if you get around town, as it is with many of our roads, there's places that obviously need help. And I would encourage the public to take advantage of this program. I'd like to see more sidewalks done every year.
And then, no other comments? Roll call, please.
Mortensen.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Kilby.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Clayton.
You can say yes for me.
Just for the public's benefit, we are having a technical issue this evening with the microphones on this side of the room and one over there too. So bear with us if, as we kind of work through it. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the awarding of bids. A resolution awarding the construction services contract to SF Excavating and Septic Systems in the amount of $387,500 for PI 8232, demolition of the groundwater storage reservoir. And I will call upon Alex from Interstate Engineering to present this.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you. Yeah, we opened bids Thursday, May 1st on this project. Quick overview of the project. Up at the water treatment plant site, there are currently 2 ground storage reservoirs. One that was built, I believe, in the 50s, and then the one we're discussing was built in 1916. It has far exceeded its useful life and has a number of different structural and leak issues. So this project was laid out to remove that from service, demo the top portion, fill it in with sand, and grade that area around, do some piping to bypass it so that the system still works properly. We opened, like I said, we opened bids on May 1st. We got 6 bids, which is always nice to see that number of bids. We had an engineer's estimate of $550,000 for this project. The low bid was SF Excavating and Septic out of Dalton at $387,500. So we're very happy with that bid. I've spoken with the owner of SF Excavating. They're very comfortable with their number. Everything is in order. So we come tonight looking for a resolution to award that project and get the work moving. Included in the memo is some additional costs. We have a total estimated construction cost of $575,000. That includes design and construction engineering, some city assistance, and some other miscellaneous costs. As my understanding, this funding will be provided through the water fund and has been included in the rate analysis. And we anticipate this work to be complete by the end of October this year. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Somebody care to make that resolution?
I'll offer the resolution.
Thank you,
Second.
Jim. Thank you, Laurel. Any questions of Alex?
Alex, this is a water tank?
Yes. Yeah, so the city has currently 4 different water storage vessels. The 2 water towers that I'm guessing most people have seen, and then these 2 tanks. The first part of this project was to analyze the whole system. We worked with Interstate Engineering, worked with Apex Engineering on this. We've done an entire model of the city's water system and then specifically looked at the treatment aspects and the distribution aspects of removing this tank. And we've discovered and it was confirmed by the Minnesota Department of Health that removing this structure would not have a negative effect to the water that the city can produce and provide to the public.
And how big were the tank, or this tank?
This one is 750,000 gallons.
So it is big.
It is big. Yep.
It
The
is
other
big.
one's 1.5 million. So this is actually the small one, but in the scheme of water, it's a lot of water.
And the state of Minnesota won't let you just fill it with sand and leave it there. It's got to come out.
That's effectively what we're doing. We're going to take off the top 5 feet just to get it down below grade, fill the rest with sand, pop some holes in it so it doesn't hold water. Because it's not an area likely to develop since it's only about 20 feet from the other reservoir.
No disrespect to anybody, but $500,000 it's beyond my understanding. That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. The access up there is difficult, and that adds some of the costs. And there's some difficult pipe work too, trying to get around that thing. So, but yes, it's a lot of money.
It is what it is.
Your Honor, if I have a question. Alex, what part of it is demolition is steel? What part of it is demolition is concrete? Is there a percentage, or what is the demolition material when it's all taken down?
It'll be primarily concrete. It is a concrete structure. There will be reinforcing in the concrete that will have to be separated out for recycling. There's also a chain link fence on top and some rubber roofing, but primarily it will be concrete.
And where will that demolition material go to? Is that going to go to an off-site somewhere, or is that going to go to the local Fergus Falls demolition?
I don't know. That is the responsibility of the contractor, and I don't know if he has a pit that he's taking it to for crushing, or if he's taking it to the demolition landfill. I have not asked that question.
So there's nothing in the bid for his cost? Let's say he was going to keep coming into our landfill or something, he hasn't set that in his bid? You don't know of that at all?
I don't. If he's intending to take it to the city landfill, he should have included that cost in his
Okay,
bid.
so, yeah.
Because the bid is laid out that the demolition material is the contractor's to dispose of properly. And if he
Okay.
chooses to use the city landfill, he would have to pay city landfill's fees just like everybody else.
And he didn't do that at this time?
I don't know.
Okay.
That wasn't laid out in the bid. We
Okay.
just know he will be disposing of it somehow.
Do we know the cubic yards of demolition, give or take?
I don't know off the top of my
Okay,
head, no.
sounds
Sorry.
good, thanks.
Any further questions of Alex? If not, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is, under petitions and communications, is a proclamation declaring May 18th to the 24th of 2025 as Public Works Week. And the people purpose presence, whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vital importance to sustainability and resilient communities and to public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Fergus Falls. And whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential to our citizens. And whereas it is in the public's interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Fergus Falls to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public work programs in respective communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Be it now resolved, I, Anthony Hicks, Mayor of the City of Fergus Falls, do hereby designate the week of May 18 to 24, 2025 as Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and governance agencies in paying tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contribution they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. In witness whereof I have unto signed and forego proclamation of the meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council, Minnesota, on this, the 19th of May, 2025. I would like to add, that all staff are integral to the function of the city, whether they are employed in garbage collection, fixing of water leaks, making sure that the splash pad functions, and making sure your utility bills go out and answer the questions that arise from that. So if you see somebody out, whether they're mowing grass or fixing a pothole or something this week, maybe just say thank you to the service that they provide. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, talking of public works, is a wastewater treatment plant award, and I will call upon Guy Taylor to address this matter.
Thank you, Your Honor. I called Matt Lemke from the wastewater treatment plant up here to join me. Thank you for that proclamation, too. And as you mentioned, there's a multitude of departments that make the city go. So just to note that we are grateful to work among the many dedicated professionals in all departments: administration, finance, community development, human resources, engineering, library, police, fire, and the senior center. So tonight, we want to recognize our wastewater treatment plant. The MPCA, they recognize many treatment plants around the state. To receive this recognition, facilities must demonstrate consistent compliance with monitoring, operations, and maintenance requirements, submit accurate on-time reports to the MPCA, and employ staff that are certified by the MPCA in wastewater operations. Communities across Minnesota rely on wastewater treatment facilities to stay healthy, to protect our rivers and streams. The operators of the Fergus Falls wastewater treatment plant, Stefan Nelson, Neil Sletton, and Supervisor Matt Lemke, are in critical roles protecting the Otter Tail River's the water quality downstream of Fergus Falls. So thank you, Matt, to you and your team for efficiently and effectively operating the city's wastewater treatment plant and protecting our environment.
Thank you, Matt and team. The next item on the agenda is an update from the Otter Tail County Humane Society, and I will call upon Chris and Christy to give a short overview of where the Humane Society is at and the exciting news that they've got.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. It is fitting that we are here tonight since when we came in it was raining cats and dogs. So my socks are still soaked. So yeah, like I said, good evening. Thank you for having us. It's an honor to have the opportunity and the time to speak with you tonight. My name is Chris Cannon. I am the Executive Director at the Humane Society of Otter Tail County. And with me tonight is Christy Lausch. She is our Capital Campaign Chairperson. So we are here tonight to speak with you about our organization and our role in the community, and also share some good news. We are so excited to share that after years of planning, saving, praying, hoping, we're finally breaking ground on our shelter expansion. So a little bit about us. The Humane Society of Otter Tail County, HSOTC for short, is a private 501c3 that has faithfully served the county since 1979. So despite that name, including Otter Tail County, we are not a government agency. Some people may not know that. We are a dedicated staff of 8 and a board of 8 volunteers, plus Christy. And we are the only animal shelter in the county. So we're the only shelter facility serving all 2,200 square miles of this county. And we do it because we care about the pets and the people attached to them. So speaking of the pets, we do partner with cities across the county to manage those stray populations as best we can by attempting to find forever homes for over 600 stray, abandoned, and surrendered animals that enter our shelter every year. So a fun fact, 54% of our animal intake stems from an animal coming within Fergus Falls, whether that be, it's basically just from a Fergus Falls address. Now, we do assist in animal cruelty and public health investigations when needed. We also participate in community outreach and education through the Adopt Class program. We engage with youth groups several times throughout the year to provide insight into the animal welfare industry and to openly discuss challenges and concerns children have regarding pets in the community. We help the people in our community by helping them keep their pets in their homes. So we supplement the cost of spay and neuter expenses, which can be very expensive, for county residents if they're on state or federal assistance programs. We also operate a food pantry so county residents can come in and get dog or cat food for their pets, no questions asked, other than how much do you need. We do need your help. We need your help very much, continuing our mission of compassion for our community. Now, with that being said, I do want to pass it off to Chrissy Lausch for a brief history and update on the progress to expand our shelter.
Thanks for having us this evening. It's been quite a journey to get to the point where we are breaking ground on June 2nd. And I just want to, if you don't know the brief history, the backstory of the shelter, it began 45 years ago in a barn on the Regional Treatment Center grounds. It was founded by Carol Schaff, who is still a very dedicated and active volunteer. As a matter of fact, she and her sister have mowed the lawn at the shelter for many, many years. They're our official lawn caretakers. And it started with a bank account of $37.50. So from those humble beginnings and a lot of hard work, dedicated people and passionate people over the years, it's evolved, it's grown, it's changed locations a couple of times. And it now is what we have that today. That is a very well-managed shelter, very clean, very fiscally responsible entity. So when I began to volunteer at the shelter 9 years ago, I joined the board and I started to get involved in seeing what goes on there day to day. And it did not take me very long at all to realize that there was a tremendous need for space. They were doing a fantastic job with what they had to work with, but they're all across the board in so many different aspects of operations. There was a tremendous need for more space. And over the last 3 years, I've been all around the county talking on behalf of the shelter. And recently, a retired Deputy Sheriff Chuck Sherbrooke came up to me after a presentation and he said, "You know what, Christy?" He said, "That shelter expansion was needed 25 years ago." And this came from a member of law enforcement who sees it firsthand. He knows the critical services that we provide. And I took that as a very important testament at that moment, that he sees it, he gets it, he understands it, he's been there. So I brought back, to the board at that time, I said, I really think this expansion, the need to expand the space has been talked about for a long time, but we have the team in place to get this done. Let's just do it. And so we started, and the design process began with a company in Colorado called Animal Arts that specializes in doing shelters and what we would specifically want in a shelter. Then it came to a local level, went to design intent. I believe it was bid out the first time about 18 months ago, came in at $2.8 million. And we just thought, oh, that is way more than we can bite off. We thought that's kind of a play on words. I didn't mean to say that, but anyway, it came in at 2.8 million, and we thought, okay, we got to go back to the drawing board, which we did multiple times. It underwent many modifications and changes, and I can tell you through value engineering, through cuts, just honoring every dollar we have gotten and stretching our funds and looking literally at placement of outlets and things right down to fine details. We have the bid dialed into 2.1 million. And so we're pretty proud of the cuts that we made. And our contractor is willing to hold that price, providing we don't make changes, which is almost unheard of. They want to see this happen as much as we do. So that's where we're at, and that 2.1 million, we're breaking ground on June 2nd. It includes 3,500 square feet of additional space, an expansion of 3,500 square feet, as well as a pretty extensive remodel and upgrades in the existing aspect of the shelter, which will remain all intact. So just to highlight a few things quickly, if I may, we'll have an indoor exercise area and a space to meet and greet a potential pet, which there is nothing of the kind right now, as well as a glass viewing gallery wall with protective glass to be able to see some of the showcased pets. There will be pulley doors on the kennels that lead to outdoor runs. Very, very badly needed to save on wear and tear of staff, as well as the stress on the animals. I just can't even tell you what goes on when it's potty time at the shelter. If you were there observing it, you'd understand why the pulley doors are so expensive or so critical to us. We'll have a separate laundry area, a separate medical treatment area, and a separate infirmary area. And what that does is ensure that we don't have cross-contamination. Sometimes they're folding clothes and they have sick animals right there. They're folding towels. They have sick animals right there. So the spread of disease control, that's one really critical aspect for part of this expansion. Additional storage and garage space badly needed, as well as educational training and meeting space. That is all badly needed. And we could go on and on. There is a 5-minute video on the website if you want to take a peek at and visualize the space. And you have about 1 week before it's closed to the public to get a tour from Chris if you want to go out and see the current space. So fundraising began exactly 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, I would say. And to date, this little grassroots effort has raised $1.9 million. So we are very, very proud of how far we've come. It's come from primarily private donations, some businesses, some grants, and foundations. And of that 1.9 million, we have also allocated 400,000 out of our Humane Society investment account that we allocated right when we kicked off the project. We said, let's allocate this much to jumpstart this capital campaign. And in a perfect world, we wouldn't want to touch that because we do rely on the interest from that account for our general operations as well. So if you do the math, that puts us about $200,000 short to get across the finish line over during the construction phase. And as well as, in addition to that, we have some expenses of a temporary location, which I think Chris will highlight a little bit more. And we'll have some expenses of some fixtures and a few things that will be needed in the new space. So for the most part, we have a very, very loyal group of supporters. We have not typically been an entity that has to go out and continually ask for money or solicit for money. But obviously, when you have this loyal supporter base, making your general budget and ask of $2 million is it's a whole different ballgame. So that is where we're at. We're basically here to see if you can help us get to the finish line. And one thing I always close with saying is I always say, you may not be a dog person or a cat person, but you're a community person. And when people are in crisis, pets are in crisis, and we see it more and more. It's all hand in hand. And from an outside perspective, all you have to do is spend a little bit of time at the shelter, and you will see the amount of law enforcement calls that come in, social services calls, where shelter staff is assisting removing animals at 10 o'clock at night. And things of that nature that goes on. It happens every single week, and the staff is on duty 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And it's just critical. And I would just challenge everyone to ask yourself, what would happen if we didn't have that animal shelter? What would happen if there was not the shelter in Fergus Falls, if there wasn't a shelter in the county? We are the only one serving the county. So I would just like you to look to look at some of the services and the critical things we do for the community. And hopefully 8 months from now, you'll have a part in celebrating a bigger, better, beautiful shelter when you pull in from the west side of town and you can see the brand new, beautiful building. So thanks for your time.
Thanks, Christy. So I'll keep my final portion short and sweet, hopefully short and sweet, but I do want to go and just thank the city for their contribution of $12,000, which covers roughly the cost of our medical supplies for the year. So I do want to thank you for that. Didn't want to make it sound like it was just private donors. And in the interest of transparency, I do want to note also that the county has us in their health and human services budget and contributes about 30% of our annual operating budget, which is $360,000 annually. Like Christy said, the rest is made up by individual donors, like some of you actually on the council. So thank you for that. She did mention there earlier the initial contribution of $400,000 from our own investment account to fund the capital campaign. So here's where it comes. I would request that the council consider helping us in a number of ways, any one of them. But we would ask that you either you could fund our temporary moving costs in the amount of $45,000 to help us, get over the hump as far as our temporary moving costs. That's our rent. That's our additional equipment that we have to get to make that space work. Another option would be to help us replenish that investment account over a period of 4 years. That would be very helpful. But I do just want to say, we have been able to faithfully serve the county for decades. And the only reason that we've been able to do that is by making prudent financial decisions. Just recently, we've actually secured a grant of $75,000 from the Vidine Trust, an additional $75,000. They're a huge supporter of ours. And they have issued a challenge to the city to match it through Christy and I. But we just want to ask that you help us continue the trend of us faithfully serving the county like we've done for so many decades and hopefully for many more decades to come. So with that, I am done and I can answer any questions you may have, or at least attempt to.
Do you have any questions of Chris or Christy? Mike?
Yeah, Your Honor. I tell you what, thanks for coming here tonight. I've worked with both of you through my billboards for a while, and I think I got inspired tonight by this. I really did. And I know that, Chris, since you've come on, it's been a great addition to the Humane Society, so I appreciate that. And Christy, you've dug in there for years with it. I'm a sales guy. She's a marketing person and different things. If people wanted to donate to you today, where would they donate? We never did hear where that was at, and you've got a lot of people that are listening online tonight too. They're just everywhere. So I don't know if that's appropriate to do, but I think it's appropriate to do for your facility tonight is know where they could give.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate it. That's a great question. If you were interested in donating, you can go online to our website. It's www.humanesocietyotc.org/build.
And you can pay by credit card or by debit card
Credit
on
card,
that.
debit card, yep. Any which way you want to give us money, we can take it.
Yep.
If you want to come by and it's a shelter during normal business hours too. Granted, we are closed at the moment, but if you just knock on the door and wave a check, then we'll open the door for sure.
Maybe you should tell where our new temporary location is.
Yeah, our temporary location is going to be in the old Companion Animal Hospital at 1505 West Lincoln. So if you've been around the Tower Road area, you've probably seen me driving the van back and forth a couple times. But we hope to be fully moved in to that location by Memorial Day, probably June 1st. We'll see. I am about 80% bruised right now from moving everything starting with May 1st when we got into that building. So, yeah, and I would also say keep an eye out on our social media as well for more updates regarding our operations at the new location as well.
Any other questions of Chris and Christy? If not, no, I equally would thank you. We have one of your little guys at home, so a good supporter of the Humane Society and the work you
Absolutely.
do. So thank you very much for coming and good luck.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. There are 6 items on there. Motion approving the minutes from the meeting of May 5th and May 7th work session, as well as May 14th Committee of the Whole. A motion approving licenses, a resolution approving the school resource officer contract with IESD 544. A resolution naming the fire training grounds as the Daniel C. Ness Training Grounds. A motion appointing Scott Kwame and myself to represent the City of Fergus Falls on the Otter Express Joint Powers Board, and a resolution approving some budget adjustments. Would somebody care to make that resolution?
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Jim. With that, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing entering into a broker representation agreement with Marcus and Millichamp for the Bigwood Event Center. And I think we will call upon, did Andrew want to say a few words, and then Rolf, or is Rolf?
Yeah, I can talk on that. I've had an opportunity to review the proposed listing agreement that was provided by Marcus and Millichamp for the listing of the Bigwood Event Center. The listing agreement places a purchase price of $500,000. However, I explained to John Rizaruk, whatever his name is, that our charter requires the city to go through a process to sell real estate, and so whatever price you put on or whatever offers you get, the city will always entertain a reasonable offer, but it's always ultimately up to the council to pass a resolution authorizing a sale, and our charter process requires 2 council meetings, one where the purchase price would be, or the purchase offer would be presented, and the second council meeting thereafter to take it up for action, whether it approve or disapprove it. So a lot of listing arrangements provide that if they come back with an offer that meets the listing price and you don't carry through with it, they still get their commission. Well, in this case, I explained to them that we don't know what the price will be. We don't know whether the state of Minnesota will have to consent to this. But what we do know is we have a process to go through, and whether the council decides to sell or not sell is a future decision of this council, because we just don't know what the terms may be. So 6% commission is what he charges, and I made some additional changes in regards to a mediation occurring in Otter Tail County as opposed to Hennepin County, and a couple other changes that I thought made sense. So this is council wished to have a listing agreement on the Bigwood Event Center presented to it, so this is the agreement that's being presented.
With that, would somebody care to make a resolution?
I'll offer that.
Thank you, Scott.
I can second that.
Thank you, Laurel. Any questions?
Your Honor, I have one. Are we still looking at the situation of working with our lobbyists to work on being in a bonding bill so we could possibly retain those funds, or where are we at with that process?
And we did. There's a-
Yeah, Your Honor, Councilmember Kilby, city staff hasn't gotten great direction on that, to be frank, but I have continued dialogue with the city's lobbyist, and, you know, as today being the last day of session and the pending special session and the talk of potentially a bonding bill, he's working that angle to see if we would be able to get into a bill, should a bill advance, and then, of course, the council, you know, would have to consent, I suppose, to going that direction. It would seem to make a lot of sense to retain the fees as opposed to giving them back to the state of Minnesota, but all those things are happening kind of in the chaotic end of session mix here with Joel working hard to see if a bonding bill comes together that we could potentially be part of it.
So do you need a direction from the council, like a motion, a resolution tonight to direct if that's possible, so you're authorized to move on that in light of that?
Your Honor, Councilmember Kilby, not necessarily for this session. If we carry beyond this session and there's not a successful bonding bill, I would want the council to give some additional direction, because I don't want that to hold up a potential sale should the council wish to sell it quickly.
Any additional questions?
I think just a comment, Your Honor. I think this is nothing new to us as a council, but this is very new to the citizens of this community. I think if you or Mr. Bremseth and would maybe just give a little enlightenment to how we got here tonight.
No, I fully agree. I think, you know, for the benefit of people at home, obviously, I think everybody has known that the city has been subsidizing the Bigwood Event Center to the tune of approximately $150,000 a year. An opportunity, you know, has arisen in that the hotel that is attached to the Bigwood Center has been listed for sale, and the council has had a couple of meetings to discuss the potential of selling the property in conjunction with the hotel. The broker that is listed the hotel is Millichamp and Marcus, and, you know, we approached them about the potential of including the Bigwood in that sale, and what the likelihood of that sale taking place would be. And they believe that there's a favorable opportunity for the city to sell the Bigwood Center and keep it as an event center, that, you know, those people that have expressed interest in the hotel to this point have generally asked about the Bigwood itself being included in a sale. There are some provisions in the way that the Bigwood was funded. It was funded with some public state dollars, and so if we whatever we receive for the Bigwood would be technically designated to go back to the state prior to obviously the city receiving any monies at all. And our lobbyist had brought up that there was a potential of including something in a bill that would release those funds back to the city. It would be obviously at this point perhaps a long shot, but they would have to be designated to another public good type project. They wouldn't necessarily go back into the city's general fund, but it would go back into a special project that would benefit the citizens of Fergus Falls. So we would be working hard to try to get that to be the case, but obviously we don't know what St. Paul will do. We have also put discussion or had discussion with the brokers about the potential of having a deferred sale on it, that if a hotel buyer did come along and want to buy it, that we could do a deferred so that we could, in fact, possibly get to the next session of the state to see whether or not we would have a better opportunity of getting included in next year's bills so that we could retain that funds. But in the meantime, obviously, it will be business as normal. We are still taking bookings. The staff are still employed to do that and provide the services that we can. So we would encourage everybody to continue to use the Big Wood as much as possible. But since COVID, it's been a very difficult thing to operate. We are not events managers as a city. Prior to that, the hotel was the manager of the Big Wood, and during that time, it was very successful. They obviously had some changes, and they dropped, obviously, managing the Big Wood and marketing the Big Wood. And that's one of the things that has been tough to get done. And you'll probably recall that we've had conversations with Visit Fergus Falls about promoting the Big Wood. They have started to do that, and Leighton Media on the radio have also started to do that, so that we can try to get as much activity out there as possible to alleviate the burden to the city residents and taxpayer. In the meantime, obviously, we will see whether or not there is interest or not. And if there is no interest in purchasing, then obviously that will be what it is. So, thank you. Cecily, you got a question?
Thank you, Your Honor. Cecily Cookman, Fergus Falls. With that in mind, I'm curious about Z103. Where does that fall between Bigwood Event Center and the hotel? Is that a separate property?
It physically belongs to the hotel.
Okay, thank you.
Just a clarification, the lobby area of the hotel actually belongs to the city. So that's why there is a benefit in them both being together, that access door. So that's why it's a good opportunity to try to get an investment in that whole complex to put it on the map again.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, and to further that point, the city's footprint includes a catering kitchen. The hotel footprint includes a commercial kitchen. So there's a wall that goes right in between the two, and that's the separating line.
Your Honor, thank you. Does this include all the city property out there?
Yes.
Is there 3 lots or 3 parcels?
Yep.
And I'm looking at page 2, item 4, book and records. Will John accept waiving item C, most recent appraisal, if we don't have an appraisal? Something to discuss with him. I would imagine a phase 1 you can't exclude. Do we have building, initial drawings of this building?
We should certainly have the architectural drawings.
I think number C is the biggest one. We don't need to spend money on an appraisal.
Didn't we get comps from them?
I want to say.
Yeah.
This, what he's asking for is if we have an appraisal in our possession, we should provide it.
Okay.
That's what it was, not asking.
He's not asking
Not
for-
asking for an appraisal. It's items that are in our possession that we're to provide, and that's those items that are listed there.
Thank you, Mr. Nicomo.
Your Honor, a couple of things. Do you want to speak to, so the public knows how we landed at the $500,000 number, that it's not a random number, that it was kind of a recommendation based on what they came to us with? And then I guess the other thing is I think it's important for the public to know this hopefully will avoid us having a large capital expenditure of having to deal with that roof in the next 5 to 10 years, I would guess, and maybe sooner. And that's going to be a big thing for the taxpayers of Fergus if that ends up being our bill.
I think on the 500,000, that was obviously a recommendation from the brokers. And it was not an arbitrary number. So, and I think, yeah, I mean, obviously the goal is to maintain it as a functioning convention center. With that, roll call.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution supporting the city's grant application to the Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Grant Program and certifying the availability of matching funds for the Greater 801 West Stanton Avenue, and call upon Clara Beck. This is what would be the Checkers property that we talked about a couple of weeks ago in terms of looking at a 34 potential housing unit project and applying to the state for some matching funds for infrastructure.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. April 29th at the Committee of the Whole meeting, Michael Olson from the HRA, he is their director, introduced to you a planned unit development option for redevelopment of the 801 Stanton Avenue site, which is currently owned by the city of Fergus Falls. We have utilized grant funding to get to the place where we are currently with that site, which is that it is a clean site ready for redevelopment. During that process, the city also took the step of setting a development TIF district, redevelopment TIF district that encompasses the property of 801 Stanton Avenue in order to prepare itself for other possible grant programs or other programs that could utilize TIF, including the Greater Minnesota Infrastructure Grant Program, which is what we are discussing briefly here tonight. The application is due June 12th, and as part of the application package, what is requested is that the city provide a resolution stating that it has the ability to make the match that is necessary as part of the grant program. So should we be chosen as a grant recipient, we must provide a 50% match. Based on some preliminary numbers of what Michael and I have been looking at as we've been working on our application, the matching amount that we will be asked to provide would be between about $350,000 and $500,000. The overall infrastructure costs are looking to be like they would be a little over $1 million. Michael, yep. So we are in the position where we can apply to the Greater Minnesota Infrastructure Program to get 50% of those costs covered. We have also opened ourselves up to the option of a $100,000 match through Otter Tail County, which is something we can kind of stack on as we go throughout this process. So the request tonight is to say that, yes, you are interested in applying to this program. We'd like to see what could happen through the state if we can get some more funding to get this infrastructure going. And then, yes, as part of that program, the city does have the ability to reach that match, and that one of the options available to it for that match would be tax increment financing through the redevelopment district that is in place. I think I'm covering everything, but I'm going to turn to Michael and see if he has anything to add. Nope, he's nodding at me. So that is the request in front of you.
And I think just to so for clarity, we're not doing TIF this evening. This is not asking the council to offer TIF. This is just for the application. We have to put something in to say how we could, if there are other ways that we can fund it, if we are successful in receiving funds from the state, then it will come back to the council, and at that time the council could decide how and if they want to make a match of the funds. But
Yes.
just
We have a
to have something.
There's a district that's already in place, but what is not in place is any kind of TIF agreement. So that is what would come back before you should we move ahead with this process and with the various applications.
And so as Claire mentioned, there's the potential of 100,000 that we can get from the county, and there would be also potential that we could get from land sales that would be also a city match to this project. So it's just tonight is putting something on the grant application in order to have a good shot at receiving the funds.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Laurel. Any questions?
I would love to. Your Honor, thank you.
Yep.
I'm looking at the qualifying housing redevelopment published by the state of Minnesota, and it refers to affordable housing. Was that part of the program out there, affordable housing, with the HRA? I mean, the average was about 300,000 per home. How would that work then? If you have, let's just make it simple, 10 homes out there, each one sold for 300,000. How does one of those become affordable?
So the term affordable that we would be using in regard to this project in particular is maybe not the same affordable that you've been looking up. It would be the workforce housing. There's kind of like a strata of different levels of affordable, and we'd be looking at one that is, Michael, is it 116% of median AMI? So it's probably a little bit higher than the affordable that you'd been looking at. So Michael did a lot of this math already based on the preliminary numbers that we have, and the price per home, which I think we had it a little below 300,000, was affordable to a home that was in that 116% of median AMI.
I don't have your numbers. I would like to see them based on what I've seen for Fergus Falls.
Sure.
An affordable house is like 200,000 based on income and your percentages. Any additional information you could give me would be grateful, because in Fergus Falls, the average home right now is about 230. Income in Fergus Falls is roughly, 72,000, family of four. You look at that and can try to find a 30-year mortgage with 20% down, that payment's going to push on that. If we get approved, what must we do if we get this approved by the state?
What must we do is we must adhere to the agreement that they would present to us after approval is provided. So likely that would lock us into a project that is substantially similar to what was submitted in the application. So what we're working with right now is about 34 units, some of them standalone single-family homes, some of them row house, a mixture of stick-built and modular that would be part of the makeup of the little community there. So it would be something substantially similar to that.
Your Honor, before I could vote yes on this, I'd like to have a little more clarity, but I know time is pending, so I don't know what corner I'm painting myself into based on what the state comes back and says you need to do this or you need to do that.
Yeah, you have the option when the state does come back and say, because that's another thing that we'll be also waiting on, is to see what the state will provide us to do this program. So we may need to scale back or change our project based on what the state is making available to us. This is going to be a very heavily subscribed program. It's going to be very competitive. So it is entirely possible that we will get a response from the state that is, we'll give you something, but it's not the amount that you wanted. And in that case, we'd need to come back to council and say, this is what's being offered to us. Can we change our project to fit, or do we need to look at doing something else?
I'm prepared to move forward tonight, but I would appreciate the numbers as to what you're proposing on the application.
I've got a couple questions, if that's all right. Mrs. Beck, once we apply for this, are we locked into 801 Stanton with this project, or can this project be moved to somewhere else?
No, I would say that that is probably more of a change than the state would accept.
Okay. So one of the things I'm going to be voting no on this tonight, not because I don't think affordable housing, this type of housing, is not needed in the city. I'm going to be voting no tonight because I'm not sure that it's the right location for this at this time. One of the things that I'd like to see the council and the city do is we have our dairy property very close, adjacent to this property, and this is going to be a vital type of redevelopment in our city, maybe one of the biggest redevelopments we've ever done in our city. And we're going to do that with possibly a new economic director that's going to come on board and assist you, Clara, and you assist them. I think it's unfair to pin us to this type of housing in this location when we haven't really set what we're going to do on that dairy property. I've talked with Michael about this, and I'm all for this if this is in a different location, whether it's an Oregon property or somewhere else, but I can't get myself to vote for something to set it somewhere when we're going to be redeveloping something next to it that may be really great for our city. I don't know if the two will jive, and so that's just my position tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any other questions of Clara?
I have a couple.
Right.
There's a railroad track that would be between this and no access from this property to the dairy property. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then my next one is we've had a member of the public when this came up, I think at our committee of the whole, that brought up community land trusts. Is that something, I know that the Village Cooperative building, that's a very positive thing for the people out there. This doesn't preclude that from being looked at in the future, I would assume.
No, yeah,
in
and
any
we
way.
actually have discussed that option a couple different times. I think Michael actually has all the paperwork ready to go if we do choose to go that direction.
Okay.
Just kind of depends.
Just so we're not
Yeah.
pigeonholing ourselves anywhere if it goes
No,
that
no,
way.
I think if that's ultimately what could end up making it the most affordable to homeowners, or if that's what makes the most sense for long-term ownership of the site, yeah, we're prepared to go that direction for
Okay,
sure.
and then are we tied in, we're not trapped in having to do modular, we could do all stick-built still, like we still have flexibility from that perspective too? Or is there for sure going to be modular down there, and if so, how much?
Yeah, we wouldn't necessarily be locked in. We're putting it in our application because that does raise the chances that we get funded and then the amount that we are funded. They are, I don't know if prioritizing is necessarily the right word to use, but you get a higher point percentage if you do include some modular in your plans.
Is that
So
because
we
it can
have,
be
I believe we have
faster?
7 of them in there
Okay.
currently.
Is that because of the speed that can be done, or why is modular?
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure why the focus on modular, but that is what we've understood from the technical assistance from the state.
And just, modular does not mean trailer houses. It means
Right, it's essentially like they build panels off-site and then they deliver it and then just goes up like
Puzzle.
magic. And that's built, it can be, slab on concrete or slab on grade, or it can have a basement. I think in the case of what we've been discussing, it would include a basement that could potentially be finished for some equity in the home for the homeowners.
Your Honor, one last question. Thank you, Clara. We had a great Port Authority meeting earlier, and we have a tremendous amount of other dirt that's available. Would it be too late to move this project to some of that northern
I think
real
it
estate
would be,
land?
yes. Yep, I do think so. We have an engineering study on 801 Stanton that we're using as the basis of our application. The application is due June 12th. I don't know that we could pull something else together.
I respect Councilman Mortensen's position.
I mean, the other part of this was that, it is a kind of an infill property. It's just less than 8 acres, and the accessibility to current city infrastructure is very accessible.
It's also worth, not to interrupt, I'm sorry, but it's also worth remembering that the acquisition money that we used for 801 Stanton contemplates an affordable project happening on the site. So the state money that we received was predicated on there being some sort of affordability component in the eventual build. So that's why, that program working out for us and then this program coming online, the two make sense to pair together. I fully understand that you maybe want to see a more comprehensive plan for that area, but all along, at least from the planning side of things in discussions, it has been contemplated that those two areas, the dairy site and 801 Stanton, would have some component of either workforce housing, multifamily. They're both zoned or working on being rezoned to be R4, which is a mixed housing development.
With that, roll call.
No.
Yes.
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 No.
The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution approving a $37,000 facade loan to Nomadic Arcade LLC and authorize the mayor and city administrator to sign and related loan agreements as recommended by Business Development for Fergus Falls. And I will call upon Clara again.
You have in your packets 2 recommendations from Business Development for Fergus Falls. They came out to you on Friday, and that was due to an appraisal that was requested by Business Development for Fergus Falls being received. We did get that on Friday and got those documents out to you once we were sure that for our next request that we would have the appropriate collateral for the loan in order to make that recommendation. So the first recommendation in front of you is for Nomadic Arcade LLC, which is a pretty cool new idea. I don't think I've ever seen it anywhere before, but we have a local artist and business owner who has been working on this project, self-funding it to create a movable arcade. Similar to like a food truck or something. You can have it at events or hire it out for weddings, etc. So Business Development took a look at the numbers behind the request, looked at some projections. Carl Zachman, who is the owner of that LLC, has done a lot of work with the small business, the SBDC, Small Business Development Center, to get his business plan in place and all of his numbers for lending. And Business Development for Fergus Falls felt the best programmatic fit for that would be a facade loan, which would allow for 2% interest at 7 years, which is a little bit of a shorter term than what Carl had maybe initially been asking, but that's what Business Development for Fergus Falls felt was the right fit for that program. So I'm just requesting an approval of the use of those loan funds.
If somebody would care to make the resolution, then we can ask questions.
I will offer that.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Laurel. Thank you, Jim. Any questions regarding this application? Mark?
Yeah, thank you. I'm awfully new to this, so thank you. This facade loan is at 2% for 7 years. I've seen interest rates anywhere from 5.5 down to this 2%. What is the policy for this facade loan at 2% versus another one at 5.5?
Our policy for facade loans in particular is always that if it's being offered for 7 years, that it has that 2%. That's just one of our program tiers.
So that 2% is set on the years of amortization, not necessarily the loan, the risk of the loan, or the equipment.
That would be correct. Yes, that is set first and then fit into later.
Mrs. Beck, Your Honor, how many other loans do we have out there that we are servicing right now with 2% at 7 years? How many?
The facade program in particular, I wouldn't know that off the top of my head, but probably at least 1 or 2.
How does this group, and I don't want to question it, I know there's business professionals on it and everything, how do they look at the risk of a loan that the city's going to give out? Can you get us that process or tell us that process tonight?
Sure. They receive a full package similar to what a bank would receive when they're considering a loan, and we have several bankers on the group. They review the numbers that are given to them, I'm not going to remember all the terms off the top of my head, but they review it essentially the exact same way that a bank would, with the added bonus of having other people on the board who are not bankers and who are looking at it from like the small business development perspective. Like they themselves are a business owner, or they have owned a business, et cetera, and then they come together to make their recommendations.
And the 2%, like Mr. Layton said, that doesn't fluctuate with interest rates. That's 2%, whether we go to 10, 11, 12% here now,
That's
interest
correct.
rates?
Nope, stays at 2.
Are there, on the city website, under business development, there's an outline of the programs. The facade loan is at it's 0% up to $10,000 and a 4-year payback, or it's 2%, over that, and a 7-year payback. I mean, the business development has made significant number of loans over the course of its time, and has a very good track record in terms of making sure that they're good loans and they get paid back. Laura?
Clara, can you speak to, looking on the city website, it does say facade loans, the max is 25,000.
Yeah.
So we have this one in front of us for 37.
Yes, so business development does have the option in like small print at the bottom of both our economic development and facade programs, because those are seeded by different funds than our other loans. They do have a little bit more flexibility with how they can use those programs and pair those programs. So in general, they will lend up to $100,000 across those two programs, and we've had $25,000 out there as kind of like the max that we would make available for facade loans, but kind of knowing that amount isn't quite cutting it anymore. So that's where they're exercising their right to say, we're looking at this specific project, we're looking at this program, we think it's a better fit if we up that amount a little bit. So we don't have any requests that come before business development for Fergus Falls that haven't already been in some significant conversation with either when they were in existence, Greater Fergus Falls, or directly with city staff regarding the programs and the fits.
Your Honor, a question? So when I hear facade loan, I think the front of a building.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any concern because this is mobile? I mean, I know Carl's doing a personal guarantee based on paperwork, and I'm not against this. I'm just kind of wanting some clarification on that. And then also, I guess my other point would be, can we get the website updated so people know that maybe that might make people think, oh, my project is bigger, there's no point.
Sure, yeah.
Can we get some updating on that so people are aware?
Yes, BDFF can at their next meeting take a vote and say that they want to take that off of the website. I can't just take it off for them, but yes, we can certainly do that. And then with economic development and facade loans, the name may be a little bit misleading. We've used facade loans for things that go beyond just changing the front of a building, but in this case, they thought it was the right fit because part of the loan is going to outfitting the outside of the mobile arcade with its signage. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking behind me because that's Mr. Zachman, who is the applicant in the back.
Any other questions? If not, roll call.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. We wish Mr. Zachman good luck in his venture of being the pinball wizard of Fergus Falls.
And Jim, too, pinball wizard.
The next item on the agenda is a resolution approving a $126,000 IRP loan to MAA Drager, Inc., and authorize the mayor and city administrator to sign the related IRP loan and business subsidy agreements as recommended by Business Development for Fergus Falls. Again, over to Clara.
Yeah, it's weird how this works out, but when it rains, it pours. No sooner did we finish up our previous request from a local hotel than we got a request from another one. Well, I guess they came in fairly simultaneously, but we've been working with this one a little bit longer in order to get all of the required materials that we wanted to ensure that this lend was something that BDFF felt comfortable with. So in this case, we've got a $126,000 loan to, I believe it's pronounced Ma Durga Inc. They are the owners and operators of the Comfort Inn. They have made significant changes inside the building already, and this is kind of like a final step in their redevelopment of that hotel, which includes changing out some of the stucco and things on the front of the building. So they went through the same process that our other hotel went through. BDFF saw their numbers, did their review, had their conversations, and received an appraisal that there was some cleanup that needed to be done on their O&E report to ensure that they had recorded certain satisfactions of mortgages that were hanging out there and hadn't been recorded. Those have all been taken care of. They did provide us with an appraisal that showed that the collateral was there for the city to hopefully feel comfortable in this lend. And because this is an amount of over $75,000, part of the request is also that there be a business subsidy agreement that is simply based on the amount, but the amount is not high enough to have required a public hearing. So that's why you're not seeing a public hearing attached to this request. You'll see the subsidy agreement, but not the hearing. So again, any questions, I will do my best to answer.
I'll offer the motion, or resolution.
Thank you, Laurel.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions? If not, roll call.
Yes.
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 The resolution is approved. I think another good opportunity for improving Fergus Falls. The next item on the agenda is the presentation of claims in the amount of $1,936,644.53. Would somebody care to make that resolution?
Resolution, pay the bills.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second. I'd like a comment.
Thank you, Scott. And the comment?
On page 61 in the packet, there's a couple of lines that total a little over $60,000. And I just wanted to draw attention to it due to the fact that we opened the meeting today with a recognition of this being Public Works Week, and we've talked about a water tank removal project tonight, and these two lines reference the replacement of a well pump. And I asked Guy if he could explain what we spent this $60,000 on.
I sure can. So the pump at the water plant, it pumps millions of gallons of water every year. So we have that serviced annually. When it was being serviced this year, the technician said that it was megging, so the motor age is showing degradation to the point that it was still usable, but he said it's getting to the low range of it maybe failing. So he advised that we could go with this motor, and it could go for 3-5 years maybe less. So he just offered up that he had a motor on the shelf that we could buy from them, and if we did have a failure, then they would come and install that within hours. Otherwise, if we had a failure and we had to order one, it could be 3 weeks to 3 months. So we thought it was in our best interest to prolong the useful service life of the motor at this time and put that one on the shelf for the eventual replacement, emergency or not.
I think it's a good example of what the water department in particular and what the public works department has done to just keep our city working well, equipment-wise. And so I wanted to draw some attention to that. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not,
I will double that. I'd prefer to have a motor pump on the shelf today so that when something happens at 3 o'clock in the morning, You just swap the parts out. Good job.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 There is no old or unfinished business, no new business. A 2-minute round, I think. Is Mike at the beginning? Yeah.
Sure. Your Honor, I'll be quick tonight.
Yeah.
I appreciate, go ahead, do you have something to say?
No, I was just going to say, we forgot to list it on the agenda, but we'll still honor the agreement.
Yeah, you bet. I'll be quick tonight, Your Honor. I think what I want to do, sometimes I sit here and I think about like the Humane Society and people listening and watching, and what I've noticed is there's people watching all over the area and actually all over the world. And one of the things that I want to do today is I just want to thank our active duty military that are watching us throughout the world. I want to thank you for your service to our country. I want to thank you for your dedication to our country and what you do for us. And we look forward to you when you come back to Fergus Falls, whether you retire from the military, whether you're back from active duty or you're home on leave. And one of the things that I assure you we'll do for you is we'll leave the light on for you. So I appreciate all of you around the world that watch from the military, and I thank you for your dedication.
Thank you, Mike. Scott?
I just want to talk about the town halls we're going to have. I really encourage, I've been getting a lot of phone calls about the town halls and what's been kind of going on. I just want to encourage everybody to show up and to speak what you got. You can tell me anything you want, and I can try to relay it, but it comes from that pulpit, right? Or what do you want to call it there? Comes, I don't call it pulpit. Podium. And whatever, it really goes a long ways. And I had a long conversation with a gentleman this afternoon about it, and so when we get this going, when's our first one?
First one is June the 30th.
June the 30th. So that's going to be great. And I don't think the room's going to be big enough.
Thank you.
I would echo what Scott said, and what I was going to talk about tonight, I think staff has kind of covered and the mayor has covered. We have a lot of business programs that are out there for support, and Clara is a great resource, and we'll have more staff on economic development-wise here eventually, but also that Business Development Association website. There are programs out there, like you referenced, the facade program, maybe 2 active loans right now. There's money out there. We can help your business. Go look at those resources. Same with the sidewalk program that Scott Kwame mentioned. There's not a lot of utilization, and like he said, there's money out there for homeowners to improve their sidewalks and improve public safety. So look into these programs. We have ways to help, and we would like to use those programs more.
Thank you. Jim?
I would like to see us get behind the I would like to see us get behind the Humane Society and put a little money in. They need another 200 grand. I know we're not going to give that much, but I think we could give something to help them out. Probably the liquor store's got a little extra money someplace or something there right now.
Store.
Always the liquor store.
Always go to the liquor store when you're looking for money. So, but anyway, I think we should try and support the Humane Society. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, I want to remind everybody about the Fergus Falls Aquatic Center open house Thursday, May 29th from 4 to 6. And then it officially opens Monday, June 2nd. So exciting. I think we have a lot of kids and families in general that are really looking forward to this.
Thank you. Scott?
In the realm of community activities coming up, the sculpture walk, we got a little flyer on that today. The grand opening celebration for that is May 31st from 1 to 3 with activities at the senior center and walking tours and a community gathering. So be sure to check that out. Also coming up the end of this week on Thursday is a downtown tour led by Chris Schulke from the Ottertail County Historical Society. That one's on Thursday. And then on Friday, there's an outdoor tour of the RTC property, also from the Ottertail County Historical Society. Chris Schulke will be doing that one. So some fun things to do coming up this weekend.
Thank you, Scott. Mark?
I don't have anything other than I still focus on the city website. We've had handouts tonight We have different policies. We've notified that the business loan is unclear to the public. How we want to go, I am a strong proponent that we maintain one website, and that's the city website, not X, not Facebook, not Rumble. We have one place to go, have it completely full. On a second note, I would like to see the business development policy, if you will, which outlines the different loans and the different opportunities that we provide the community. Obviously, I'm the new boy on the box, so that's totally new to me. We are strong behind supporting our local businesses. Mr. Kwame, when was the RTC deal?
The tour is Friday evening,
What time?
6 o'clock.
Okay. Your Honor, that's what I got.
Thank you, Mark. I think, as you say, it's good that we support local businesses, and anything that we can do to strengthen them is obviously a positive thing. And like Jim, I agree that I think we need to look at what we can do to assist the Humane Society. As they mentioned, over 50% of the little critters that end up in there come from our zip code, and we give them $12,000 a year for that. And so I know I've personally picked up a stray and taken it to the police station and for transportation out there. I was walking one morning and a dog followed me and I couldn't get rid of it. And so I obviously didn't, I either smelled good enough for the dog or not good enough. And so I ended up going to the police station early. This was like about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I had to do the call. And they wanted me to take it out there. And I said, I don't think so. I've walked already 4 miles. I'm not going to walk out there and back again. And so they did come and pick it up and took it out there. So it serves a tremendous purpose. And I know that I've also picked up a little dog that got hit on Union, and took that out to a companion, and then that ended up obviously at the Humane Society as well. So I'm quite an animal lover, so that's good. With that, there's some miscellaneous announcements. We have a closure, obviously, in observation of Memorial Day on May 26th. So garbage and recycling that would normally be picked up on Monday will move to Tuesday. Tuesdays will obviously then move to Wednesday. On May 28th, we have the Committee of the Whole. And then on the 29th, the open house that Laura mentioned is from 4 to 6. There will be no swimming that night, but the ability to purchase passes. And then obviously on June 2nd, again, that Laura mentioned, there'll be the grand opening, and there will also be free swimming that day. So if there is inclement weather, that will get pushed back to June the 3rd. On June 2nd, that evening, there will be an audit presentation at 4:30 and followed by a council meeting at 5:30. With that, we will be adjourning to a closed meeting pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05, sub 3B, for an attorney-client privilege to discuss pending litigation, and we will not be opening afterwards. Thank you for your attendance. Good evening.